Okay. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
I said, can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Cool. I can hear you loud and clear. Right. So I'm going to begin my talk with a little story of my youth. And so for this, we must go back a long time, like 50 years. And so, wait, no, 5 years, sorry. And so here you have this little class. And so when I was in elementary school, I had a music teacher. And whenever we would go to his class, we would sit around in a circle, and we'd either do fancy, like little music games, like tongue twisters. But the thing that he liked to do the most was just kind of talk about things in general, not necessarily music itself. But he really liked Dylan, and he really liked John Lennon. And so he would often tell us stories of him, or of both of those, and other famous musical people. And so he also sometimes talked about news things. Like there was this one time where there's a huge fire up north in the country, and we had a whole class about that. And so this story starts with a little one of those. His lessons were almost like TED Talks in themselves, because he would go from topic to topic all over the place. And so he was just telling us about this little interaction he had with a friend of his she was a piano player. And so they're sitting down, let me set the scene here. They're sitting down by a coffee shop, and you have him and you have her. And then, they're just talking, and he's like, so why didn't you become a piano player? Why is it only a hobby for you? And then she goes and she says, well, I knew that I would never be the best piano player. And so it was just something just kind of leave. And so, back to the class, he takes a pause and he like, what? You stopped because you thought you'd never reach the end? So you're saying you want to be a virtuoso like this guy, like Mozart man, or like Chopin Block, or what's his name? I think he was the first guy on the moon. But yeah. And then I didn't really consider it at the time, but looking retroactively, I think, what is up with that, okay? What's up with not wanting to do something because you think you'll never reach the end? And so, we need to dissect this problem, okay? So we got out the surgery tools, we got on the board, and so we cut down the 4 main pieces of this thing, yes? You have celebrity status deification, which pretty much means that you're putting either being a celebrity or any sort of status on a really high pedestal. And then you have the desire to be special, and with that, the desire for recognition because of your special necessity. But the most important one, I call it in red, but you can't see because the projector is a bad boy. The ends versus means fallacy, as I like to call it. Now, to show the ends versus means fallacy, I made a little diagram here. And so here you have you, or any individual, and here you have your goal. And in between your goal, you have various steps, such as hard work, interest, luck, and knowing cool people. And so you have this little goal, and you really, my teacher's piano player friend wanted this little sort of situation, right? You got an elevator, and you can just kind of walk up to the elevator, and boom, it's a goal. But you realize you leave your dream, and then you realize there's no elevator. And so you need to go up this flight of stairs, and you're like, what? Why would I do that? So you just leave. But your goal disappears after that. And then everyone's sad. And so, here's a guy who has diverted against that ends versus means fallacy, because I think a lot of us do it for many things. This guy's name is Zion Clark, and he was born without any legs. But throughout high school, he became one of the best wrestlers in his state of Ohio. And so he also ended up going to a really cool university where he just, having fun, going places with his life. I wonder where he'll go. There's a documentary about him on Netflix, and that's how I found out about this. Anyways, so here you have Zion Clark, and he's got a lot of things to say about his journey to becoming this man. For example, anything is possible. Pretty cliche, but let's see where this goes. If you can see it, there's a definite chance you can do it. You just have to take that chance. There's no excuses at all. So this is like your typical sort of follow your dream story, because he overcame his blockage. But what I think is interesting about the specific example is that there's no excuses at all. The only person that's blocking you from the stairway is yourself. And so you're the one who needs to take those steps. There's another quote from the actual documentary itself. I never really cared about what other people thought of me. And this is, I think, the most important part of this example, is that he wasn't doing things because he wanted people to accept him because they didn't accept him yet. He was doing things because he wanted to follow his dream. He wanted to become a wrestler, and he wanted to do something with his life. And it was just a consequence of that he ended up getting that recognition. He didn't chase after it. It was a consequence. Here's another example. You may have heard of him. He's like Harrison Ford. You don't know Harrison Ford?
No.
You don't know Harrison Ford? Okay, fine. Anyways, he was Indiana Jones and Han Solo. And I'm going to tell this little story from back in the beginning of his career, where he played an uncredited role as a bellboy in an old 1967 movie, which I forgot the name of. But he was just a little bellboy, and he was there with another really famous guy who I forgot the name of as well. But the other guy, the other guy was doing his part like a show star. Every movement he did was to attract attention and to really put attention to the fact that he was an actor. However, Harrison decided that he would rather pretend that his job was actually to be a bellboy and not an actor. And so fast forward like 50 years, and he's an awesome actor and an official cool guy, okay? And so in that case, he was just following his philosophy that as an actor, your job should be the role that you are, not to be a star. And then he got recognition as a consequence of that. He wasn't exactly chasing it. And so you see these people, they're able to change this diagram so that, like, you go, instead of chasing that goal, you chase this little goal here, which could be, I don't know, be a bellboy. And then here, you could be, I don't know, do Indiana Jones, right? And then with each goal, they eventually build up to this one. This goal isn't really a goal in itself, it's a culmination of all the other goals. And so, all these people are kind of celebrities, right? And so you have these people that we learn about ever since we're like super tiny. And you have all these, strange individuals who have become ingrained in our minds because of something that they did. And so they get to dress nice, everyone likes them, their jobs, they can just kind of have fun and pretend to be whatever. But the thing is, being a celebrity isn't really a goal, it's a consequence. Just like Zion Clark's recognition, Harrison Ford's recognition, it's something that happens because you're following a certain goal, instead of your goal actually being that thing. Here's an example of someone just like you or me, an average individual. Her name is Greta Thunberg, and a few months ago, she went up at the UN. Yes, that UN that you're thinking of, and she's my age, right? And she went to talk about climate change. And so here, she wasn't doing this just to be able to say, oh, I went to the UN and I'm super young. She was doing this because she wanted to change something. And that was the consequence. So now, I went around and I asked people for a survey relating to these questions. So I wanted to see what people thought of this kind of dilemma, the whole goal thing, right? And so let's get real here. Let's turn this off. This is the real deal. I'm going to get my privilege machine, and I'm going to read my graph, right? And so I went around and I asked people what they wanted to be when they were young, and what they want to be, what they were, and what they thought they would change in the future for their job. And so for a lot of younger people, I saw that they wanted a lot of, kind of artistic jobs. Like I got one guy who said he wanted to be a pianist ever since he was really young. But then as he got older, he realized that he needed to make money, and so he kind of got into more like sustainable jobs, like engineer. Not that that's a bad thing, of course. I also got a lot of vague aspirations, like, oh, I want to travel the world, which in itself, it's similar to the celebrity goal thing, where it's a consequence instead of something that you actually end up chasing. And I was expecting a lot of really regretful stories, where people would look back and say, man, I wish I could have kept going up those stairs. But what I actually got was a lot of very inspiring stories of people who are able to adapt. I'm going to give an example from a teacher of mine whose name starts with G and I think ends with Ildart. You see, you're stealing my jokes. Anyways, when he was younger, he wanted to be a cartoonist because he really liked drawing. And so he got the chance to do that from being in school because people could recognize him for that. But as he started going older, he realized other opportunities like being a soccer coach and history and all of that. And so he adapted. He didn't necessarily think that he couldn't be a cartoonist because of that little star drawing or the little diagram, right? He adapted because he found a new thing. And with this, it's a natural path of finding many different things and then pursuing them individually. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of a cliche again. It's like seeing where life takes you and then just kind of following those things. You don't really owe anything to anybody, like not even to yourself. You don't need to be a celebrity or status or whatever. You just kind of get something that can keep you happy. And of course you need to live, like get food or whatever. But that's also part of the equation. You need to look around, find whatever you enjoy, and even if you already have a job and you think you're stable and you're going to be like this until the end of your life, look for things that you think could be interesting, like Mr. Gildart, because he's going to make a YouTube channel. That's all I can say. Bye now. Thank you for listening. Yeah.